Jim, thank you. Joining us live in the studio now is King 5 law enforcement analyst and former King County Sheriff John Urquhart. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So, Sheriff Urquhart, in your experience, how will the FBI work with local law enforcement as the investigation unfolds?
Well, clearly the FBI is going to be the lead investigative agency on this, but they'll use local law enforcement kind of as a backup to help them out if they have to go up to Bellingham, for example, where he either was living or is living. They'll use it to secure the premises and wait for them to get there with their search warrants, most likely.
Yeah, and how often is it that, big national stories like this have a connection to us right in our own backyard?
Well, more often than you might think. If we go back, 40 years, there was the Order, which are neo-Nazis that started in the state of Washington. Their leader ended up on Whidbey Island, where there's a big shootout, and he was killed up there. There was the Aryan Nations out of Hayden Lake, Idaho, just outside of Spokane. That was certainly in the Northwest. When I was sheriff, I had a security clearance, so I would get briefings from the FBI at least quarterly. And there was a lot going on in this area that really never made the news, but it still was occurring.
Yeah, lots of news up in our area in the Northwest.
It does happen.
It definitely does happen. NBC News reports that the FBI is going to investigate this as a possible act of terrorism. So what exactly does that mean?
Well, it's not a good thing for the suspect, that's for sure. But domestic terrorism is defined by federal law as to intimidate or coerce a civilian population, to influence government policy through violence, or to affect government conduct. So it doesn't necessarily mean that this terrorism label will pan out in the end, but it's what they're going to start, where they will start, and they do that oftentimes in these types of big profile shootings.
Yeah, gives them a starting point.
Gives them a starting point, and it allows them to marshal all their resources, and the feds have a tremendous number of resources.
Right. So since the shooting, President Trump has also ordered another 500 National Guard troops to D.C. So in your opinion, are those troops the best assets for law enforcement duties like this?
Well, you got to remember, there's already been a federal judge who said that over 2,000 federal troops that are right now today in Washington, D.C. are there illegally, and he has ordered that the Department of Defense pull those troops out of Washington totally. Now they're going to put another 500 in there, according to President Trump. I'm not sure that's going to make any difference. It certainly didn't make a difference in this shooting, did it?
No.
It still occurred.
Right.
And all you're doing is adding 500 more targets to the city that are probably or possibly going to be there illegally anyway.
Yeah, you got to think about in the aftermath of 9/11, we unfortunately saw the Muslim community receive public backlash. So if the suspect is actually from Afghanistan, do you fear that we will see that again?
Oh, I'm sure we will. I was kind of monitoring social media since this happened, and it's already happening. This guy came over in 2021 because apparently he had helped out, along with hundreds of thousands of other Afghans, helped out American troops in Afghanistan during that war. He was granted asylum in 2025, presumably, which of course is under Trump. Presumably they did a background investigation then, and still allowed him to have asylum here in this country. So we need to be a little bit careful before we attack either Muslims or Afghanis who are in this country legally, as he apparently was.
Absolutely. All right. Former King County Sheriff John Urquhart, thank you so much for being with us.
Certainly.